It is indeed good to be alive today. We are faced with many challenges. I'd like to extend condolences to the family of Anik Arundel, who was well known in the community, especially by all of those traveling the road to school in the mornings at the intersection of Corlita Road and Zegas Gut Road. For many, many years, she has been ill and battling illness and has succumbed. So I do wish her family and loved ones much strength during this time. In order to update the general public, I know that the incident at the St. Martin Vocational Trading School has already been publicized. However, I must state for the record that from the beginning that the incident was brought to my attention, certain requirements were put forth by me to the division head and management of the school in terms of getting the report of the incident back, which I did receive, as well as incorporating all our stakeholders, the student support services, and holding a meeting which they came forward with themselves, with the parents, which was done on Monday morning. The school and its school's management opted to hold that meeting in the morning due to low turnout regularly at parents' meetings, and they were quite happy with the turnout at this meeting last Monday. The meeting held on Monday really clarified moving forward how parents are expected to cooperate with the school. Previously to this, I must state that a meeting was held here at the government building with several stakeholders, Department of Education, Inspection, and the St. Martin Vocational Trading School, as it is part of our goal to improve the services that we are rendering for the students who are currently at the school. Some of the challenges that the school is facing were brought forward by the school manager. This is all prior to the incident, including the mixed match of children of different, or students of different needs. The vocational school has been identified as not being clearly defined, and so it has the interest of the priority of the ministry in terms of moving forward. So a working group has been established that will help us to define what exactly we would like, or goals the St. Martin Vocational Trading School to meet, whether it's a secondary school for special education or whether it's a vocational trading school as it should be. And the other training schools, vocational training schools that the PSVE schools in St. Martin are also vocational schools. So really putting a sense of, especially for students leaving the elementary school, better criteria in place so that the students are placed correctly. This is being looked at. But currently the school is faced with at least 5 or 6 different types of students who are at the school. This was brought forward by the school's management. It is a very serious situation. So management and staff at the school have to deal with students with behavioral issues, with learning disabilities, with maybe students who came into the island late, and that's just to name the top 3. So one of the issues that even other schools have been having is, and has been brought forward by the inspection, is a high incidence of aggression in the schools, a high incidence of even drug use and abuse. Whilst there's a zero tolerance policy in place, having all our children who are maybe suspected of, for instance, drug use, or who fight once, suspended or expelled for long periods of time also is a detriment to their education and leads towards further dropouts. So the ministry definitely has this as our focus in improving this system. The Department of Education has to also advise on this. The inspection is on board with this. And specifically with this incident, the Student Support Services Division has also received the report, and later on in the press briefing I will be highlighting some very important parenting workshops that had already been planned, which will definitely assist parents in situations such as these, where your children, what we're hearing more and more in the schools is parents giving up on their children. Parents not knowing how to control their children. So discipline being an issue within the home and within the streets, so therefore, of course, it will spill over into our schools. So just to ensure that one and all understand that we do have this situation as a priority, it has been, though, I must say, to the, how you say, the school has seen some changes over the past months and years, where we have been seeing that there's a better and a more positive culture being created. However, we cannot expect Rome to be changed in a day, and we do need all stakeholders invested in the process, especially parents. And so therefore, I'm appealing to the parents to really cooperate with the school when called and to be proactive in the sense of working together with the school to ensure that your child gets the best possible outcomes. I'd like to thank also those at the school and the security as well for ensuring that no further damage was done. The SSSD department as well as other counselors will also be going to the school to deal with school management assisting. They were also busy making a crisis intervention plan or safety and security plan to get that finalized in the shortest possible term so that all would know how to deal with situations when they arise in the most safe manner for all concerned. To go straight into student support services, I've been updated by the division head, Mrs. Mussington's service, about some of the services that the division is carrying out. One of the goals is to keep families, parents specifically, and the community involved, enabled, and empowered. The objective of the parent support groups is to empower parents by increasing their knowledge on various issues that affects the family. These workshops are being held with the outcome in mind of having a better informed family working together in the child's best interest. These parent support group meetings are designed to provide the parents with better support to aid their children. During these workshops, the parents increase and acquire knowledge in various subject areas. They are provided with once-a-month sessions for either behavioral or learning challenges being experienced by their children, and they are given pointers, tips, and tools on how to deal with particular problems. So during 2017, we will be extending the support group sessions to parents of other secondary schools in addition to the elementary schools, which were already ongoing, regardless of whether they had been referred to SSSD. So parents of both the St. Martin Academy, PSVE, and academic section are also invited to these parent support meetings. They have commenced since March 1st and will continue through December 6th. A tentative schedule is also available and has been drawn up, and so I would ask the general public to stay involved in terms of looking at government's information page as to when these are coming up. Some topics that are upcoming are dating violence, human trafficking, conscious discipline, STDs amongst youth, including kissing disease, stress management. Other parent education workshops being planned are on anger management, financial management, special needs children, and identifying personality traits. So these are all planned for now and the rest of the year, and I do implore the general public to stay abreast of these workshops, because one of the concerns of the Student Support Services Division, and I must say others within government that have these informative and educational workshops, that there's a very, very low turnout. An informed person, and in this case parents, can make better decisions to be able to guide their children, and then would be less inclined to throw up their hands. When we throw up our hands on these children, they become the menaces to society that then affects all of us. So we really do have to work together to make sure that we are curbing this type of behavior and encouraging the positive behavior on a regular basis. In other news, we do have a sports team in Aruba. I haven't received an update yet. The under 13 football team traveled to Aruba to take part in the not in the Insula, sorry, in the Himno y Bandera competition with Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, and we'll be awaiting the update on that. Bad news in sports, however, is that we were preparing several teams to take part in insular games here on St. Martin and in Curacao, that due to traveling challenges being experienced by Curacao, Aruba, and Bonaire, the decision was taken to cancel the interinsular competition, which had been planned. It was supposed to take part in 2 phases. This would have been the first time for St. Martin. We took part for the first time last year in Curacao, and they afforded us the opportunity to host games here this year. However, games which were scheduled for March 24th and 25th will not be taking place due to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao having issues with travel, etc. The follow-up games where our athletes had to travel March 29th to April 2nd have also been canceled by Curacao, by the hosting island. In light of the cancellation, a discussion was held between the Department of Sports and the National Sports Institute to determine if something could be done for those athletes who have been training so disciplined and so determined to represent St. Martin. And as such, it was determined to have a sort of a champions competition for the basketball, volleyball, and futsal on the same scheduled days, but between the St. Martiners on March 24th and at the auditorium, and on March 25th at the Raul Lilly Sports Complex for the track and field. The competition on the Friday is expected to start at 4. Of course, as we get closer to that date, we will be updating you further so that we can get the public support, though they won't be competing against our counterparts in the Dutch Caribbean. It is good for us to at least see our youth in action, and therefore I asked the public support for this on March 24th and 25th. Recently, it had been our goal to be able to host a joint press conference with the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, but due to unforeseen circumstances, the follow-up meeting was not able to be had for us to really synchronize moving forward. However, several brainstorming sessions were held aimed at looking at ways to curb children and youth participating in adult activities. We believe that this is a concern of the whole community, and we are really trying our best to collaborate as government with all the entities that are assisting Carnival, and taking into consideration, of course, the rights of the children, their right to education, and parents' responsibilities in this, because during this time it has been highlighted by the inspection department that there's a very high rate of absenteeism, or even if they are there, there's low production during that time. And we really have to utilize all time allotted for school and for learning. And exams, of course, have been, for the foundation-based education exams, have been put off until later. So more time is given to you to be able to focus on what is then the most important part of your life right now. I think most of our youth look forward to some of the carnival activities, but unsupervised youth is not something that we would like to encourage. We would like to encourage parents to exert your parental responsibilities in making sure that your underage children are supervised or at home during the very adult activities. I believe Carnival Development Foundation has already last year started taking some very strict measures, and I believe that these should increase, and we look forward to collaborating with them as well as the police force in seeing how this can be done. Of course, even given our current laws, we may not be able to enforce all of them right away, but it is more so a sensitizing of the public to what is expected and what can and will occur, as soon as we get things in place. On another good note, I must say that the Leo's Club has been working for quite a while on alcohol awareness, and this year they are working on drug awareness, and as such they are collaborating with the ministry and specifically with the Division of Inspection, and we would also like to incorporate other stakeholders. We've had meetings as a ministry also with the HIV/AIDS Youth Wing, so there are several community groups who are working on different aspects of the youth, and they have a very small, I believe, audience, or a very small group of young people that are positively working who maybe don't get enough exposure. So we would like to collaborate with specifically these two groups, and any other groups, feel free to contact the youth department or the inspection department to assist in bringing more awareness about drug abuse and alcohol abuse, especially during the upcoming season. Many use it as an opportunity to, free for all. And I guess maybe because they see the adults having a great time, they think it's their time as well. But I would like to remind our youth that drugs and alcohol have a lasting effect, especially on your growing and developing brains. And so this awareness program will start quite soon, and we will have an official press conference with the Leos to launch that as well. And I'm looking forward to businesses as well as the community and parents taking heed and really exerting the discipline and responsibility of raising children. Finally, I'd like to say a great big thank you to the St. Martin Doot organization, as well as to all those who contributed to assisting specifically our public schools and NEPA in moving forward over those 2 days. I must say for our mural projects that it was more than 2 days. There were many preparatory works that had to be done before, so I'd like to thank Mr. Stephen Hilton and Mr. Gaylord Richardson, who took care of power washing the walls at the schools, as well as priming the walls so that the artists could, during the week, start putting up their artwork. I'd like to thank the artists, Mr. Henry Thomas and his young assistant, Ms. Khadijah Lake, a recent graduate of St. Martin Academy who worked on the Ruby La Vega School mural. Ms. Lucinda Lariche Audet, no stranger to us, worked on the Marie Genevieve de Weaver Primary School. With her assistants, also some young people. Mr. Rasmus Zera worked on a collage that is really exceptional at the Leonard Connor School, together with many volunteers, many volunteers. I don't have a number, but I'd like to thank all of you who came out and assisted us, as well as the ministry itself within the cabinet and the ministry, those who came out, those who helped to prepare, as well as the management and staff. Volunteerism is something that we continue to push as a ministry, as I continue to push as a minister, because together we can definitely make a change. Thank you.
Last Friday, we conducted a multidisciplinary control. This was a multi-ministerial cooperation. I don't know if there is a photo, actually. Minister Gibson, sorry you weren't in the photo, but it is a photo that shows, here you go, that you can see this is the team that went out on last Friday. And this comprises of inspectors from the from the Ministry of VSA, labor inspectors, with the assistance of the Ministry of Finance tax inspectors, with the assistance of the Ministry of Justice immigration officers, as well as representatives from SEDV. But also this includes cooperation, for example, with other departments such as VROMI. For example, VROMI is in the process of helping us to produce a map, a very detailed map of the Dutch side of the island, so that we can literally map out a door-to-door campaign in terms of how we're moving forward with compliance. So I wanted to, number one, stress that the effort that took place last week, Friday, was something that has the full support of the Council of Ministers and the cooperation across different ministries. There was an article that ran in the newspaper reporting on it, where the control teams went out and closed businesses. And I want to state for the record that we did not close any businesses. The reality is, though, when a business operates, and if a large percentage of the people operating within the business are undocumented and not permitted to work, and if the consequence is that the business decides to close its doors because it doesn't have the manpower to continue its operations, that's a consequence of us following through with our activities, but not that we directly have closed any businesses. I want to commend the team. We went out, it was a long day. As a matter of fact, not everyone in the picture went out at the same time. So what you see actually is many of the departments put it into 2 shifts. So they had some people that went from morning, because actually we went out from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. So it was a long day. I really commend them. They did an excellent job. They were enthusiastic throughout the entire day, throughout the entire process. And a lot, I think, was learned by the exchange as well. The controls started in the morning with controls in Phillipsburg, in particular retail shops, but as well OPCs, or some of the timeshare salespeople that you see operating on the streets within Phillipsburg. As the day progressed, we moved on to construction sites, and then as the day progressed further, we moved on to restaurants and bars. Understand, I would like the community to understand, our goal is really improved compliance. My off-the-cuff estimates are that just a simple one-day control, I believe that we've generated around 70 employment opportunities. And by that, what do I mean? I mean that there are people functioning in positions without the proper documentation for those positions. So as the businesses look to fill those positions with our people, I see this as an employment opportunity. I believe also that there was an opportunity for government now to collect on tax revenues, and certainly for SZV to collect on revenues. As you noticed, SZV mentioned some time ago in the newspaper that they had 200 million guilders out on the street. In my understanding, that is money that they say that they have a claim against companies. In other words, companies that owe money. To me, the money that we're talking about from the control on Friday is people who are not properly registered, who are not paying the premiums as they should. So that money is on top of the money that they claimed in the newspaper a few weeks ago. What is the plan? The plan is that each of the different ministries are going to go back, process the information that we gathered on Friday. They're going to investigate further. Some of them are conducting interviews with some of the people that were controlled last Friday. And the plan is next week to have a debriefing session, including Minister of Finance and any of the other ministers who want to join, and look at really understanding what were the results of what happened from a simple one-day exercise, and what kind of structural changes can we institute across ministries to improve compliance. Some preliminary findings. What did we find? Just to give you a sort of a snapshot. Many employees said, I don't have any ID with me. I would like to make it clear, according to the law, anyone over 12 years old is obligated to carry identification with them. Many businesses did not have all of their proper documentation on site. Some of the construction sites, for example, didn't have building permits or any of the things, so make sure that you get familiar with the law in terms of what you need to have in terms of documentation on site, but including a labor registry, business license, operational license if necessary, director's license, Chamber of Commerce. So we're notifying you, go get your things together. We found companies operating without proper documentation. And by that, what do I mean? We found some people, for example, who were operating as companies, but yet they've not followed through and gotten all of their documentation in place. So they're operating with incomplete documentation. For example, one OPC I spoke to says, yes, no, I have my company. I said, okay, where's your tax information? Not me, the inspectors asked, where's the tax information? So it turns out the person's operating without a crib number, therefore not paying taxes into the system. So you need to get all of your documentation in place. We found companies that were operating, that were French companies, that are operating on the Dutch side. They, in my opinion, have no legal basis to be doing business on the Dutch side. I think many of you would recognize that if we were to go to the French side to do business with an NV, that would be a problem immediately. And yet here we see people conducting business with a French company, which translates into, means they're not paying SZV, they're not paying their taxes here. This is a big gaping hole for the government. I also recognize it's a small community. News spreads very fast. As we were controlling one end of Front Street, reports were on other ends of Front Street, people were vacating Phillipsburg. Same thing when we were controlling construction sites in one neighborhood, in other sites people were going into the bushes. Certainly gives an indication that there is a large problem, right? And a problem that we are committed to addressing. We found a number of undocumented and unregistered employees. So it could be one or the other. So some that are undocumented are also not registered, some that are maybe documented but still not registered. So compliance is an issue. Went to one business where we could see all of the time cards. There were somewhere about 15 time cards, but yet when you actually checked, only 4 employees were registered. This is a problem. This is a big gaping hole in our revenue for the country. We found many French nationals, so people with documentation to live on the French side, but without documentation to work on the Dutch side. This is not permissible. They need to get work permits. Also, we ran into a number of people that are being employed through an Oudsen bureau or employee leasing company. But it turns out that they don't have their immigration or their work permits in place. So they're working via an Oudsen bureau, but yet they do not have documentation to be able to work. Now, what's happening is this is creating a problem. I mean, the amount of phone calls that I'm getting. So this is creating a problem. So you have a business, you have, let's take a restaurant, for example, your chef, your key personnel, you believe you've complied by working together with an employee leasing company. But fact is, when the labor inspectors come and they find that there's somebody working without documentation, they're not allowed to continue to work. And so this is creating an operational problem for some of the businesses. So I suggest that the businesses become a little bit more proactive and not say that just because I've hired them via an employee company, it may absolve you of the, let's say, financial exposure, but it creates still an operational problem that when the people are not permitted to work, that has an impact on your business. Our goal is, as I've mentioned, to improve compliance. And I think this is a multi-prong approach. I've pointed out, again, that we have a number of compliance guides as we conduct our field trips, our compliance trips. We will continue to amend this and make sure that any documentation that's missing is included and updated. So there is an educational approach. I suggest you go to the ministry's website, ministryvsa.sx. These guides are available online, so I don't want to hear that we didn't understand what's the law. There's a compliance guide for employers and for employees. We also understand that this is a situation that has evolved over many years. So we are also taking an approach of one of assistance. If people are trying to be compliant, but they don't know what to do, if they don't know what are the laws, contact the different departments. We want to help you to become more compliant. So come in, be proactive. The more proactive you are, I believe the, let's say, kinder and gentler that you will find the ministry to be.